Мене звати Оля Фрайман, і я рада вітати вас всіх з міста Міннеаполіс, штат Міннесота. Хочу трохи розповісти про нашу українську громаду. Тут проживає понад 15, а можливо і 20 тисяч українців. Серед них є нащадки тих, хто приїхав сюди після Першої світової війни, понад 100 років тому. Є і ті, хто втік від радянського режиму після Другої світової. Згодом приїхали нові хвилі українців після розпаду Радянського Союзу, і я сама приїхала сюди дівчинкою з Києва понад 30 років тому. А після початку повномасштабного вторгнення в Україну до нас прибуло ще понад 2000 українців, і громада дуже активно допомагає новоприбулим. У нас є український центр біля річки Міссісіпі, де щотижня проходять репетиції танцювального ансамблю «Черемош». У липні цього року група виступала в Польщі та Хорватії. Ансамбль існує вже понад 70 років, і в ньому танцюють цілі покоління українців Міннесоти. Ми танцюємо, бо це частина нашої спадщини, частина тієї культури, яку сьогодні відстоюють і захищають українські воїни в цей важкий час. Також у нас є чудовий музичний гурт Ukrainian Village Band, який створює справжню святкову атмосферу. Зараз ми всі готуємося до великого українського фестивалю, що відбудеться вже цих вихідних. Окремо хочу згадати благодійний фонд Protest Foundation, який безкоштовно забезпечує протезами тих, хто втратив кінцівки під час війни. Фундація вже збудувала 2 клініки в Україні, а головний центр розташований тут, в Міннесоті. Отже, Міннеаполіс, Міннесота – це місто з активною українською громадою та багатим культурним життям. Ми маємо і сильну театральну традицію, і я дуже щаслива бути членом ради директорів театру «Новий міст». Цей театр нещодавно поставив потужну п'єсу про Голодомор, нагадуючи світу про трагедію, яку український народ пережив в ХХ столітті. І зараз я з великою радістю хочу представити вам нашого художнього керівника Володимира Робінського.
Hello. Привіт. Our theater is so honored to be invited to your festival, and we're happy to share our work with you. Without further delay, I pass on word to our wonderful playwright, Андрій Курейчик. You muted.
You muted.
Sorry, yes. Muted playwright. That means that I'm from Belarus, you know. I'm happy because for many years I visited festival Mельпомена Таврії in real life, and last time I was there in 2021 in September, right before full-scale invasion. And I should say that it's one of the most warm and diverse and unique festivals in the world. I loved it so much, and I'm happy that you're keep doing your festival despite of the war, despite of the bombs, of the rockets every year. And I understand how difficult to do it. We do it here in a kind of like COVID style by Zoom, but I understand how difficult and dangerous to do a real events in the front line cities like Kherson and Nikolaev, day by day, connecting people, connecting theater professionals. So our heart with you, our heart with Alexandra Kniga, who is artistic director of the festival and who was actually kidnapped by Russian soldiers for several days and harshly interrogated, and all international theater community tried to get him out. I remember the days in 2022, and finally we managed to release him, and now he's keep doing this festival. So this is the play in progress. it will be production of this play in November, but this play is based on the real stories of people from Ukraine and from United States, but with the roots from Ukraine, who trying to express their feelings about what's going on, contradictory feelings, and try to understand how could we get out from this disaster. So this is text which shows very different heroes, but all of them are real, and some of them from occupation, for example. I know that Alyona made a novel about occupation. She spent her I don't know a lot of time in occupation in Kherson with a small child. And we have the story about the Ukrainian woman who was in occupation in Chernigiv and near Chernigiv. As well, we have stories of soldiers of VSU. We have the story of mother and child. We have the story of volunteers in Minnesota who helping people. So it's just nobody like somebody who is famous. It's very, very ordinary people, but they're absolutely unordinary in the way they feel and act. So I just want to give the voices to the actors to bring these people to the festival. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrei. And without further ado, An Ocean Away, a play by Andrei Kureychik, created together with Theater Novий Mist. It's an excerpt from the play. It's not whole entire play, and each actor play multiple characters. And lights goes down, and lights comes on stage.
You want to know where I came from? How did I end up here? Minnesota, of all places. My story didn't start here. It started with a dream. Not mine, no. My wife's grandfather, back in the old world, Transcarpathia. End of the 19th century. He came here, worked the iron mines.
I'm a single mom, just me and my girl. And 23 years ago, I flew to Chernivtsi, Bukovina in Western Ukraine. I didn't speak the language. I didn't know the roads. I just knew my daughter was there, a Ukrainian-born angel. I adopted my daughter 23 years ago from Chernivtsi. She was 19 months old, barely 17 pounds, and tiny as a whisper. She couldn't walk, couldn't talk. Just this sweet little person who looked at me with these wide, quiet eyes and smiled when I came in. And that was enough. That was everything. She was mine from that moment. When she was about 6, we got involved with the Ukrainian community here. I wanted her to have roots, identity, not secrets. I told her from day one, she was adopted, no mystery, no shame, just truth. Well, I'm a Swedish American and identity matters to me, so I figured it might matter to her too. So the Ukrainian school and the dance group Cheramash, she loved it. She's still in it. Almost 20 years, those kids, those families, they became ours. It's not just the dance, it's a lifeline, a bridge. I wanted her to know who she was, not in the abstract, but in the dance, in the music, in the borscht, in the embroidery and braids. When we went back to Ukraine in 2017 and met her birth siblings, her brother and sister. That was emotional. They stood at the back of the hall, watching her perform, watching her dance. It was raining. I remember the rain. She didn't know they'd come. She took a bow, turned, and saw them. That look on her face, nothing could prepare you for that. She was 16. They were strangers, but blood remembers.
In 2020, COVID shut the sky, but in 2022, missiles said, never mind. February 24th, 2022. The missiles started, and the TV filled with suitcases rolling down bomb-cracked highways. Exact shot from the 1940s documentaries. Only the luggage and zippers now.
I was in Disney World when the full-scale invasion began. My daughter is next to me, Mickey Mouse on the horizon, and on my phone, helicopters bombing Kiev. It was surreal. Cartoons and carnage, side by side.
I was in a meeting at the Ukrainian Center. One of the guys said his mom was still in Kiev, immobile, couldn't move. They started at 4 a.m, they said, like Nazis in 1941. And within hours, this community, our community mobilized. Facebook page, protests, rallies. We were in the airport when the first wounded soldiers arrived. 5 men wheeled out, limbs gone. I'd never cried so much in public. But the Protez Foundation, my God, what they're doing, incredible, giving people their lives back.
We raised money. We danced for Ukraine. Cheremosh performed again and again, not for applause, but for resistance.
We could feel the war was coming. All this time, a Bible verse kept echoing in my head from the book of Esther. Maybe you were made queen for just such a time as this. Then the war started. Ukraine, our home. My daughters immediately wanted to fly to Poland and volunteer, but I said, no, let's see where God has put us. What can we do here, right now, practically, effectively? And I thought, what can I do? What do I have? Not politics, not guns, but prosthetics, legs, arms, dignity.
I was a sapper, 30 years in service. I disarmed mines and dug them out of the ground. Rozminovanya, that was my job, demining, digging death out of the soil. I served before the full-scale war in Luhansk, Khmelnytsky, Vinnytsia, Zakarpattia, everywhere. Because our land, our Ukraine, she's been stepped on by too many boots. First World War, then the Second, then 2014. And every time they left their teeth in the ground, shells, mines, the hidden bones of war, I pulled them out every day, every week, with hands, with heart, with patience.
So literally, everything started in my kitchen. My Belarusian friend called me and we began brainstorming how we could help Ukrainian refugees arriving in Minnesota. We made a simple video. I said, I'm a Ukrainian doctor. I can help you with prosthetics. Please apply here. And suddenly this little video went viral. 150,000 views in 2 weeks. Applications started piling up.
In 2022, they sent me to Izum, Kharkiv region. 8 teams under me, more than 120 men. I was their commander. I had to go check a site. The road, we knew it. My guys drove ahead. I followed in my own Jeep. They had a Korean car with a narrow wheelbase, and I have a Land Cruiser, big Jeep, wide. My wheels were wider. There was sand on the side of the road, and a wheel from my side hit this sand. I remember the flash, then the sky, blue, even azure color, some green, blinding array of sun, then nothing.
At first, my employer resisted. They wanted me to focus on making money, not helping refugees. But I'd had enough, so I said, okay, enough. I set up a fabrication shop in my garage and started helping people myself. People came. From Poland, from Kiev, from Kharkiv. Men with missing legs, women with mangled arms, kids, burned, broken, alive. And I built legs. I fit arms. I cried.
They told me I flew 13 meters through the air, landed in pieces. Left leg gone, right foot gone, eyes burned, gone, blood everywhere. 3 days later, I woke up. Kharkiv, one more surgery. The other leg is gone. Infection had spread. Then came the fever, burning, hallucinating. The infection reached my spine, my brain. They pumped me full of antibiotics, 2 full IV bags a day, some of them over 100,000 hryvnias a dose. It's like more than $3,000. I calculated nearly 2 million hryvnias just to kill the infection. I felt that Ukraine was fighting for my life. Ukraine spares nothing to save me, although I'm not a soldier anymore. Cut off slice. But for some reason, my life is valuable to my nation. I'm Ukrainian, and my Nenka Ukraine takes care of me. That's why we are not orcs, mindless Russian monsters. Everyone's life is important to us.
NovaCare gave us space to see patients regularly, multiple times a week. Then came the Larson family, Slumberland Furniture, and we started growing rapidly. Miracles happened. We got our nonprofit status in 2 weeks. It's unbelievable. The U.S. Embassy connected us with Homeland Security. Senator Klobuchar supported us, and now we're opening our 4th clinic. 4th! We have 1 here and 3 in Ukraine.
Still, I made it here. Protez Clinic, to America, to this land of clean air, clean sheets, and doctors who don't take bribes and who look you in the eye, if you can still see them. And when I got here, I met other guys, double amputees, blind like me. Some are missing all 4 limbs, and yet we smile. We fight. We lift kettle. We make jokes about who can eat faster without hands.
Volunteers, 150. Staff, 32 and growing. My kids, all of them, they worked for 2 years, no salary. They said, Papa, this is our mission. I traveled to Ukraine 5 times a year, and each trip drained me emotionally and physically. It takes weeks to recover. But we don't stop. It's a moral mission.
You know what hurts the most? It's not the blast, not the darkness. It's knowing that over there, across that cursed border, Putin is still sending boys to kill, to steal, to rape, to destroy toilets because they've never had one of their own. Udmurts, Buryats, Yakuts, small nations of Russia who, instead of fighting for their existence, for their language, culture, independence, became the main suppliers of cannon fodder for their Führer, sent like cattle, promised vodka, given guns, told lies.
I'm 25, ex-private first class, 98th Guards Airborne Division, Russian Army. I'm studying computers now, Minnesota State University, Mankato. I believed Moscow was the best city, that I lived in the best country, that we have the best minds. I couldn't admit to myself that other people in other countries lived better. I had excuses. They pay more rent. They have no history. We have Tolstoy. We have Victory Day. We have Sputnik.
Moscow calls itself the best city on earth. I call it a mall built on a mass grave. I was raised in the best family you could imagine. My parents took me and my brother abroad all the time. Museums, architecture, history. They expanded our minds. Education, culture, that was our home. Moscow was never home. Not for me. I'm a costume designer. Pattern, drape, bias, story. He and I met in the 9th grade. Physics and mathematics, high school. We were both nerds in different ways. He followed me for years. Quiet, awkward, never bringing flowers. When I first met him, he tried to explain to me Rayleigh scattering, you know, the theory of why the sky is blue. I nodded like a bobblehead and counted stitches in his eyelashes. And then came his army year. VDV, paratrooper. He returned shaved to the bone, joke-proof, dream-proof. Twice I invited him for coffee. Twice he vanished. Ashamed, he explains now, to show me the prisoner-like haircut.
In my regiment, 50 conscripts, 50 contract vets. Half of my barrack had fought in Donbass in 2014, in a war that officially never happened. Did they lecture us about patriotism? No need. The system teaches obedience the way mold teaches bread, just by being there. You wake, you scrub, you run, you chant Vrag Vakrug, enemy around. The enemy is always around. After a month, you don't ask who the enemy is. After 3, you don't ask why. The goal? Survive 12 months. I survived. I hid my shaved head under a fur hat. She called. I ducked. I wasn't me. I couldn't function.
March 2020, COVID, quarantine. My parents' dacha, a 4G tower over the pines. Midnight to 5 a.m., we sat on Zoom, me with half-stitched bodices, him in a fur ushanka hat, you know, that Russian hat with ear flaps that hid the barrack scalp. By the time the borders reopened, we'd mapped each other's skeletons. As soon as we could ride the metro again, we were living together.
One day, the police started knocking on doors. Document check, young man, bring your papers. She said, let's go. And we went. She had a plan. German courses in Vienna. Try, she said, just try. I tried. Now, years later, I code by day, study at night, but still flinch when a door slams like an army barracks locker.
Now, every time someone hears my accent and asks, from Russia? I want to sew an apology into my sleeve, hand it over like a boarding pass. I'm sorry for all the t-shirts in Red Square, for the cops who heard poets like cattle, for the boys with Z's spray painted on their skulls. When the full-scale war started, my Ukrainian classmates wrote to me, we know it's not you. Most did. But a few who are from Lviv throw a punch. You are the enemy. I don't answer with flags. I answer with freight. Secondhand helmets from Vienna to Lviv, old theater curtains cut into tourniquets, money from my pattern gigs wired to volunteers I've never met.
I am from Kryvyi Rih, Ukraine. A city so long it stretches past your memory. 120 kilometers of iron and sweat and fire. The capital of Ukrainian metallurgy. Before the war, I worked at the enrichment plant, first as mechanic, then as foreman, and finally as chief of section. April 7th, 2022, I got my summons. No hesitation. I was almost 50. Some said I was too old. I said I'm old enough to know what matters.
Am I a traitor? My father called me that on the phone. He uses TV news like body armor. It tells him I betrayed my Russian brothers in uniform, betrayed Putin, betrayed the Ruski Narod, Russian people. In truth, I betrayed the idea that dying for a hallucination counts as an honor. Is that cowardice? Maybe. Patriotism. What a poisoned word. They taught it with boots, not books, with bruises, not values.
March 21st, 2023, Zaporizhzhia front. I remember every detail, every sound of that attack. Mortar screams, earth split. I remember the light first, then pain, white hot, shocking. My arm, gone. My brothers in arms couldn't reach me for 20 hours. Drone overhead. The drone sounded like bee buzzing, closer than farther. But my brothers, my побратимы, they came, they got me out. I woke up in Zaporizhzhia, then Dnipro, then Kiev. 3 cities, dozens of doctors, machines beeping, kidney failings. They said I almost didn't make it. But here I am.
They say it's about sacrifice, about dying for your country. What would I have done if I'd been drafted in 2022? I don't know. I'd like to say I'd refuse, but the machine is strong. I felt its gears once. Obey, survive, apologize later. That's how the wheels keep turning.
My wife, she stood by me. My family, my rock. She said, honey, let's go to the Invictus Games. It's competition for disabled, like Paralympic Games, only for disabled veterans. I laughed. I had no arm. My body was still screaming, I'm 50. She said, so what? You're still you. I tried the gym. Just to stand was a mountain. Then came walking, then lifting. Now I lift 16-kilo kettlebells. In second place. Not bad for one arm old man, huh?
Peace between Russians and Ukrainians? One day, yes. After tribunals, after reparations, after the word Russia is not a grenade. It needs leaders who are chosen, not immortal. It needs citizens who ask why before following the orders. Citizens whose first loyalty is to conscience, not to a map drawn in the last century.
Everybody asks me, what do I think about this war? I say, it's not a war if you bomb civilians. Be a man, fight men, not children, not women, not homes and kitchen and schools. We ain't soldiers, they're looters, mercenaries, convicts, black jacket, black hats, black hearts. The Russian mothers were promised washing machines in return for the battered corpses of their sons. I still believe we will win, because we must. Because if we don't, what did I lose this arm for?
I'm not a patriot of borders. I'm a patriot of the possible, the version of myself that studies, the version that cries when my wife packs helmets to ship to Ukraine, the version that prays the men from my old battalion live long enough to stand trial and maybe learn mercy. The soldiers I knew from my regiment, they're fighting again in Ukraine, against Ukraine. They believe they are heroes. If being here in Mankato makes me a coward, fine. Better a breathing coward than a righteous corpse. Better a deserter from a lie than a medal-wearing piece of cannon fodder.
I saw the worst of it. I saw the shells fall on civilian towns, mothers, kids. What kind of war is this, where you bomb homes, not armies? You want to fight? Fight soldiers, not kitchens, not playgrounds. They think they can bomb the soul out of us. They think they can take our homes, our limbs, our eyes, and we'll stop being Ukrainians. But we're made of harder stuff.
I'm not a patriot of any country that bans color, not a hostage of any anthem. My loyalty is to people who think critically, who know a swastika even when it's wrapped in tricolor ribbon. War never makes anyone clean. But the aggressor, the one who started it, must be held accountable. Until then, I'll keep cutting cloth. Because cloth remembers. Blood shows on silk, on wool, on polyester. No matter the propaganda.
They took my legs. They took my eyes. But they'll never take my spirit. I am a Ukrainian soldier. And I'm not done yet.
On the screen, there is a montage of American politicians. Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, Stephen Witkoff, and J.D. Vance. They are talking about how Ukraine should exchange territories, give up its land in exchange for peace, that there is no other way, and that Ukraine started the war. The endless, identical, empty promises of American politicians are fading out.
You want peace, right? Peace, a powerful word. I'm trying to define it. Is it a bottle of cognac I will open when we win?
Peace is a field where a child runs barefoot and the ground smiles back.
Peace is an empty clinic where a well-rested doctor has nothing to do.
Peace is my son sleeping without fear.
Peace is a quiet after-chant. Vrag vakrug no longer shrieks inside your head.
Peace is a soft, non-frightening color. A clean, uncluttered pattern.
Peace is an empty arrival gates and airport and a full dance floor.
Peace is our victory.
Oh, no, please. Victory. When will it come? I would sign any paper that ends the dying today. Today, I'll sign, period.
No pseudo-peace. You can call it peace, but they reload and in 2 years start it all over again. For them, it is just a comma, not a period.
It is a pause. Not forever, but just enough to stop the bleeding.
It is a surrender.
I call it a tourniquet. You need it to stop the bleeding.
Faithless.
Faithless? For wanting the dying to stop tonight?
You think Putin respects signatures?
What is the victory in a senseless war? Just a senseless word in a senseless war.
No anthem is worth burning the world for.
No idea is worth it.
A mine with the pin half pulled is not a safety. Nothing is more frightening than living on an active volcano.
And what about those under occupation, people in the occupation? Occupation is a slow murder. Are we just going to leave them behind? Treat them like cast-offs?
For me, the border is a skin. If the socket of the prosthesis chafes, the body revolts. You think in maps, I think in scars. Peace that rubs a wound open is not peace. Legs, arms, dignity. You don't negotiate back a limb. You build it, and then you teach the body hope. A ceasefire that freezes a knife against the bone is not healing.
I draw lines on Easter eggs. I sit in church, sometimes Catholic, sometimes Orthodox, and think about how my grandparents never learned the language, never learned English, but somehow taught me everything that matters. Faith, stubbornness, and the fierce integrity of a people who refuse to disappear. 3 generations in, we're bilingual, opinionated, maybe slightly over-embroidered, but we've kept the song. Whenever the border shifts, this pattern stays, and that's all the politics I need for tonight.
In May 2022, the Foundation Protez was born. Since then, 380 people have received prosthetics, 10 of them kids. We give them limbs, we give them hope, and then we send them back. Some soldiers go back, with prosthetics, yes, back to war, to the front lines, fight. I asked one of them, why? He said, because my guys are still there, in the trench. How can I sit in a cafe while they bleed? Brotherhood. That's why they go back. And the people who come to us, they arrive broken, psychologically flattened, haunted, silent. 4 weeks later, they're laughing. We meet them at the airport like heroes, with flags, bread and salt, songs. The whole city shows up. Even the airport staff knows, oh, it's the prosthetic group again. We throw a party every time. Because joy heals. Because laughter stitches wounds no scalpel can touch.
We landed here in America on August 3rd, 2022, 4 months before Spain. When we left Ukraine, my boy had sepsis. He had an open wound, half of it sewn up, half open. The surgeon did a beautiful plastic surgery on his arm and didn't take a penny from us. But Spain didn't offer us a free prosthesis.
We don't take money from governments, not Ukraine, not America, zero. Churches help, donors help. Sometimes we open our account and there's nothing, and the next day, $20,000 appear. Don't ask me how. Maybe God listens. We've raised over $900,000 last year and spent it all. Clinics in the U.S. and now in Ukraine. We train specialists. There are Ukrainians here who didn't like us helping. Why are Russian-speaking people helping us? They'd ask. But the soldiers, they didn't care. On the front line, they switched languages like socks. One guy cursed the Russian orcs in Ukrainian, then turned to me and said, hey, want to smoke? In Russian. Language isn't the issue. Pain is. Loss is. And in the end, love is. Amid the rubble and bureaucracy and fundraising fatigue and the grinding moral absurdity of it all, love survives. Humor survives. Even in pieces, even with wires and titanium knees and shoulders of scar tissue. That's why I do this.
I was running through the field, through the road, which was shot through from 2 sides, past burning, destroyed houses. I didn't care what the temperature was, the icy wind, knee-deep in mud. When I got to my sparrow in the hospital, he told me himself, Mom, Dad's head was half gone. In that hospital, he contracted sepsis. They open him twice, dump us 2 days later in Zhytomyr Hospital. Still cold, glass blown out after they bombed the bridge. Kids on mattresses in corridors, a 4-year-old boy with no legs, 10-year-old girl full of shrapnel. You don't forget. 2 weeks later, a volunteer drives us west to a children's hospital. My sparrow is burning with fever, septic again. More surgery, cut the arm bone shorter. When he stabilizes, Spain takes us. May, cold spring, Valencia. Spain gives us Marta and Georgie, a child-free couple, an ocean of love. Georgie swims with my son, jokes. But Spain has no job for me, only jobs for their own. So I deep dive through Facebook, find Protez's video. Free arm, free tickets. Wait 1 month. Get a call from the clinic in August. Flight to Minneapolis. Safe. I didn't allow myself to break down. I couldn't. If my sparrow hadn't survived, I think I wouldn't have either.
You ask me what Ukrainians are like? Musical, passionate, deeply tied to their culture, their food, their families. They don't trust institutions. God knows they've been burned. But they work hard, and they outsmart the system when they have to. They find another way. They're like my daughter, fierce, gentle, and resilient. My daughter doesn't say much, but I know she's scared too. I am. I am too. She's 23 now, lives with roommates. She comes home and sits on my lap like she's 5. She wraps her arms around my neck. She breathes. I breathe.
Every night I walk the Bucha fields still in my dreams. I hiked alone through a mined field, burnt tanks, bodies. I didn't scream, I didn't cry. The one thought only, to see my son. People need to know. My boy was just hiding in the family house with his dad and his stepbrother. We all thought it was safer than Kyiv. Nobody could know that Russians would search houses for weapons. The Russians came, found nothing, smashed phones, and left. Then a tank fired a shell into the house. Just like that, out of anger. Intentional. Knowing children and women are hiding there.
Oh, no. I'm not Ukrainian, but I'm something close. A witness, a friend, an American mama with a Ukrainian heartbeat. And she's still my little girl from Bukovina. Oh, and for the record, Ukrainian food, amazing, except for salo. No, just no. But borscht, oh, borscht, I could eat it all day.
The doctor is rebuilding a robo-hand for my sparrow. Prints fingers in blue plastic, and my kid already grabs Lego and says, "Mom, I'm half robot, isn't that cool?" I nod, smile. Later in the car, I finally sob. First time in months. But I look at my son, 11 years old, laughing, hyperactive, everywhere. And I think, bombing didn't break him. How dare I break? So I don't.
Some days I'll stop reading the news because every headline could be another heartbreak. My grandpa tells me where another missile hit, and I sit with that quietly. But if someone says that they don't care, that Ukraine doesn't matter, I want to shake them and say, here is a list of names. Here is a list of the dead. Here is where to read, where to donate, what you should know if you had a heart, because my blood is in this. My story isn't just hashtags and colors. It's Vareniki in Kyiv. It's the bakery under my great-grandmother's apartment. It's me, 19, loud, layered, and learning how to carry it all. Jewish, Ukrainian, American, kind of.
And people ask me, aren't you tired? Don't you want to stop? Yes, I'm tired. But how can I stop? When I see a soldier walk again, when I see a mother hold her child with 2 hands again. And you know what? I'm not just helping Ukraine. I want this to spread. Africa, South America, the world. Anywhere a limb is lost to war, poverty, violence, I want them to walk again. So we build. But isn't that exactly how big changes start? One small, persistent step at a time, one dream becoming reality, one life changed, and then another. This is what keeps me going.
Never giving myself to bullies. Never. I'm 9. Oh, this is my cat, Kusha. Well, not the real one, don't worry. I'm not crazy. The real one is in Ukraine. I call this one American Kusha. See, she's learning. His mom calls him a sparrow. He is my best friend. We are telling everyone, we are brother and sister. He doesn't have one arm. Other kids look twice and pretend they didn't. Some whisper. Some stare and forget to blink. If they push him, well. I really don't like fights. I just don't like when someone pushes, so I stand up like this. If anyone wants to push him, he has to come fight through me first. I'm small, but I'm a wall. When we run, I hold the door and he goes first. When he draws, I pass the tape. He tapes the paper with one hand so straight, I think it's kind of a superpower. Need any war? We need pencils that don't break, and shoes that don't rub, and a bell which means lunch and not sirens. We know that war is made by big people with big words and that we are all just their toys. We are not toys. Hands are not toys. Houses are not toys. Oh, cats are not toys, even if they are soft. Am I right, Kusha? Adult war is just adults being silly and scary at the same time. We're not keeping it.
Light is going down. The end.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a piece of this play